Hey, hey, hey. Oh, na, 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 na. Do it. Well, all right now. Wolf. I know that you're unhappy. You're a light stuck in a shadow. Is he being too damn aggro? Do you really care if they all know? There's so much happening. There's no shame in who you wanna be or be with. It's your fantasy, but turn it into reality. You're worried about your family, scared of what you think they'll say. Let's leave opinions in yesterday and go live in ecstasy. These conversations with feelings you don't. This isolation is. Let me explain this to you. Niggas can be gay too. Whether you like it or you love it, whether you're kissing or you're touching, the right or lust, I know you covet. Niggas can be gay too. There ain't nothing you need to hide. DL games won't really survive. Tomorrow you might not be alive. Niggas can be gay too. Oh, oh. Niggas can be gay too. Yeah. If you say I'm with the gay shit, you're right. This is how I was born and the sound I'm going down when I pull up with my do-rag on. You already know what's going on. These folks need a rope for conclusions they jump to. One day it's gay, next day they jump you. Some days a nigga wanted to be dead, waiting for my soul to get fed. These conversations with feelings you don't. This isolation is. Let me explain this to you. These conversations with feelings you don't. This isolation is. Let me explain this to you. Niggas can be gay too. Whether you like it or you love it, whether you're kissing or you're touching, the right or lust, I know you covet. Niggas can be gay too. There ain't nothing you need to hide. DL games won't really survive. Tomorrow you might not be alive. Niggas can be gay too. Niggas can be gay too. Whether you like it or you love it, whether you're kissing or you're touching, the right or lust, niggas can be gay too.
The UK government and our important union.
One sec. I just got a. There's a comment in this comment here. It says, "Get XRP. XRP will set you free." How's the mic working? Hello, everyone. By the way, I'm not sure XRP is the one. I think that ship has sailed. But I have hope for private coins.
Congratulate my right honourable friend, the honourable lady, who has spoken on this issue on 26 occasions, and I look forward to that announcement being made in February.
Hold the limbs. Speaker, we have seen many claims about the number of jobs that will be created in Holyhead. Can the Secretary of State give me a precise assessment, or even a wild guess, as to how many jobs will be created, how many of them will be new, and how many will be merely transferred from other areas?
Mr. Speaker, I have certain powers as Secretary of State, but the powers of absolute clairvoyance are not amongst them, and therefore I find it rather difficult to give an exact figure of the number of jobs that would be created as a result of any one of the many projects the government are doing to level up across the United Kingdom. But what I can tell him is that where free ports have been trialled in Humber and Teesside, they have created thousands of new jobs, and I look forward to seeing something similar happen no matter where a free port is.
I have seen the pedo ads. I'm going to go over a bit of news from the Telegram group after.
Established in Wales.
Simon Baines, question number...
At Bagland Field, which received funds from the UK government's multi-sport grassroots facilities programme, which my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, championed when he was Chancellor. I look forward to meeting with Welsh Government ministers next week to discuss this and other issues around sports as we cheer on our heroes in Team Cymru ar y wal goch.
Simon Baines.
Speaker.
Greg, I think Eden wants to talk to you.
UK government funding for grassroots football facilities included South this year's
Fucking
included
irony.
57,000
That's a legit Pepe.
pounds
Paint him
for
green.
upgrading the
That's a new meme.
pitch at Ascot
Look at him.
for the community hub, and £20,000 for Pennakai Football
Fuck.
Club, which is helping re-establish a girls' team. Would my right honourable friend agree with me that grassroots sports is vital for the health, well-being and quality of life of all our communities?
Mr. Speaker, I would absolutely agree with my honourable friend, and that is why we have allocated £1.3 million to 17 projects in Wales to make the vital improvements to the changing room facilities and the artificial grass surfaces. Mr. Speaker, sports clubs are at the heart of every community in Wales, and Wales is at the heart of every community, of every decision taken by this government and this Prime Minister.
Dame Negrin.
Indeed, Mr. Speaker. Well, as people up and down Wales celebrate Wales's success and wish them the best for the next couple of matches, this is an ideal and unparalleled opportunity to galvanise that enthusiasm and develop the grassroots football in Wales. The Football Association of Wales tell me that £12 million has been earmarked by DCMS for the development of the sport over the next few years, but could be threatened by the cuts announced by the Chancellor last week. So will the Secretary of State please now speak to the Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport and beg her to safeguard that money for the development of grassroots football in Wales?
Mr. Speaker, this government have already shown their commitment to sport, not just to football but many other sports as well, through the funds that have been dispersed by DCMS across the United Kingdom. I'm sure other right honourable colleagues will have heard the comments made by the honourable lady, but I can assure her of our commitment to grassroots sports across Wales and the United Kingdom, and I look forward to joining her to support Team Cymru ar y wal goch wythnos nesaf. Diolch.
That completes Welsh questions. Before we come to the Prime Minister's questions, I'd like
Lindsay's
to point
a
out
proper
that British
nonce.
Sign Language interpretations of proceedings is available to watch on Parliament Live TV. We now come to questions to Prime Minister Jonathan Gullis.
Number one, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I know that members across the House will want to join me in wishing both England and Wales the best of luck.
What a cunt.
Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others in addition to my duties in this House. I shall have further such meetings later today.
Jonathan Gullis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. People in places like Stoke-on-Trent North, Kidsgrove and Tork aren't getting the help they need quickly enough when it comes to mental health. Fellow campaigner James Starkey and I were delighted when the Prime Minister, who was then Chancellor, said he would back our campaign every step of the way to get mental health nurses into GP surgeries. So will the Prime Minister deliver on his promise, back our No Time to Wait pilot scheme developed by the Royal College of Nursing and help get people the support they need?
Well, Mr. Speaker, can I thank my honourable friend for his continued campaigning on this important issue. I'm pleased to tell him all 1,250 primary care networks in England are entitled to recruit up to 2 mental health practitioners to work in surgeries. I know the BMA and NHS are looking at expanding that, and I look forward to working with him to ensure that his constituents in Stoke get the mental health support and care that they need.
We now come to the Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and congratulations to England and Wales on their start to the World Cup, and good luck for the rest of the tournament. Mr. Speaker, the World Cup doesn't belong to FIFA and it doesn't belong to the host nation. It belongs to everyone who loves football.
Belongs to England.
It's totally unacceptable
We
that
made
during
that
this
shit.
tournament, gay football fans are unable to acknowledge who they love. And players have been threatened with suspension if they show solidarity with those fans. Shame on FIFA. Britain faces the lowest growth of any OECD nation over the next 2 years. Why?
Why? Because him.
He
was the one in power.
Mr. Speaker,
Writing off all the fucking
this country
money.
has experienced since 2010 the third highest growth in the G7. This year, the fastest growth in the G7 and unemployment at a multi-decade low. We're getting on to deliver more growth, Mr. Speaker. We're delivering free ports. We're investing in apprenticeships. We're protecting R&D. And if the Labour Party is serious about actually supporting growth, maybe they should get on the phone with their union paymasters and tell them to call off the strikes.
Mr. Speaker, we're
Order. We want to get through Prime Minister's questions, and you're not helping me. Keir Starmer.
He's in total denial. We're bottom of the 38 OECD countries who are all in the same boat when it comes to COVID and Ukraine. And he wants a pat on the back. It's like a football manager, bottom of the league at Christmas, celebrating an away draw 3 months ago, and it won't wash. So they don't...
In my eyes, these cunts are always worse, because although the Tories are out for themselves, and it's observable, these cunts make out they ain't, and they're out for the common working person, and that's the common working man and woman. That's just deception massively.
Don't like their record, that's the problem. So let's try it another way. Why is Britain set to be the first country into recession and the last country out?
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased that the Right Honourable Gentleman brought up the OECD report, because it contained actually 3 very important points. Firstly, it made the point that actually in the years following the pandemic, we're projected to have almost the highest growth amongst our peer countries. It also made the point, it was crystal clear that the challenges we face are completely international in nature. And thirdly...
This is what he said last week.
Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, it supported our fiscal plan because it's credible and ensures sustainability. Now, the Right Honourable Gentleman would have known all of that if he actually read the whole report. But he's not interested in substance. He's an opportunist, Mr. Speaker. In 4 weeks, Mr. Speaker, in 4 weeks I've strengthened the economy. We've put more money into the NHS and schools. We've delivered a deal to tackle illegal migration. In the same 4 weeks,
Prime Minister, when I stand, you've got to sit down. But can I just say to you, you came to me quite rightly and said to me, we want to get through Prime Minister's questions. I'm going to give short answers. Please stick to what you have.
Mr. Speaker, there's only one party that's crashed the economy, and they're sitting there. And I noticed this, Mr. Speaker. I noticed this. He won't say why Britain is set to be the first into a recession and the last out. So I will. 12 years of Tory failure, followed by 12 weeks of Tory chaos.
That's done your nutting, Chris, innit? Them 15-minute city things has proper done your nutting. I see your stream the other day and now you're in here shouting about it. I know what you're saying though, you're all right.
Decade they've let our economy drift aimlessly before suddenly cutting the parachute ropes and slamming it to the ground. And because of the changes he's made, a typical household will end up with tax increases of £1,400. They don't want to hear about these tax increases of £1,400. Contrast that to a super wealthy non-dom living here but holding their income overseas. How much more...
Order. Mr Young, I don't need any more. I don't need shouting, don't need pointing. You're meant to be a good example of on this front bench.
It's on the
Because
channel.
you're the second, don't spoil what you meant to.
The Telegram channel.
Mr Speaker, I don't think they want to hear this. Because of the changes he's made, a typical household will end up paying tax increases of £1,400. Contrast that to a super wealthy non-dom living here but holding their income overseas. How much more has he asked them to pay?
Just order. As I said to the Prime Minister, I said to the Leader of the Opposition, I'm going to get through this list. I need you both to help me and think of other members. Come on.
Well, Mr. Speaker, Labour had 13 years to address this issue and did nothing. Nothing. It was the Conservative government that took action and tightened the rules. But the problem with his idea is that it would end up costing Britain money. Not my words, the words of the former Labour Shadow Chancellor. But rather than peddling fairy tales and gesture politics, let's actually tell him what we're doing to deliver for this country. A record increase in the national living wage, protecting millions from energy bills, protecting the pensioners' triple lock. That's what we're doing for this country.
Mr Speaker, if they'd grown the economy at the same rate as the last Labour government, we'd have tens of billions of pounds more to spend on that. And Mr Speaker, it wasn't a trick question. The answer is he's not asked non-doms to pay a penny more. Every year, he talks about the money. Every year, that's £3.6 billion thrown away because he won't make them pay their taxes here. How many extra doctors could Britain afford with that money?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased that he brought up doctors, because last week we delivered record increases in funding for the NHS. Not just more doctors, but more nurses, more scans, more operations. That shows our commitment to prioritise the NHS. Not my words, the words of the NHS Chief Executive.
Scrapping the non-dom status would allow us to train 15,000 doctors every year. That's what Labour would do. And we can carry on handing out tax breaks to the super rich. Or we can live in a society where people don't have to go private to get a doctor's appointment. It's that simple. He also hands Shell 90p
He's
for
talking
every
like he
£1
don't
they
have a
spend
private doc
drilling.
card.
So they haven't paid a penny in windfall tax. Mr Speaker, you may have seen this week that somebody shredded £10,000 in protest at those propping up an oil and gas giant. But he shreds £10,000 every other minute propping them up. Which does he think is the more absurd?
Mr. Speaker, this is the government that has actually put in place an economic plan that will deliver confidence and stability to our economy. And all I've heard from the Honourable Gentleman today, there's no answers, there's no substance, because there's no plan, Mr. Speaker. He talks about the NHS. We're delivering record funding for the NHS, but we can only do that on the foundations of a strong economy. You can't deliver for the NHS unless you have a plan for the economy, and he doesn't have either, Mr. Speaker.
Mr Speaker, every time he opens his mouth, another powerful business voice says he hasn't got a plan on growth. The failure of the last 12 years and the chaos of the last 12 weeks are compounded by the decisions he's taking now. He won't follow Labour's plan to scrap non-dom status. Instead, we've got an NHS staffing crisis. He won't follow Labour's plan to make oil and gas giants pay their fair share. Instead, he hammers working people. And he won't push through planning reform. Instead, he kills off the dream of home ownership. Too weak to take on his party, too weak to take on vested interest. 12 long years of Tory government, 5 Prime Ministers, 7 Chancellors. Why do they always clobber working people?
Mr. Mr. Speaker, he talks about leadership. This summer, I stood on my principles and told the country what they needed to hear, even though it was difficult. When he ran for leader, he told his party what they wanted to hear. And even now, he says one thing and he does the other. He says he cares for working people, but he won't stand up to the unions. He said he'd honour Brexit, but he tried to have a second referendum. And now he tries to talk tough about immigration, but he promised to defend free movement. You can trust him to deliver for his party. You can trust me to deliver for the country.
Ruth Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we debate how to best help our constituents with their energy costs, 10 million people in Ukraine are without power due to Russia's barbaric strikes on the country's energy infrastructure. So can my right honourable friend set out what support we will be providing to our Ukrainian allies to help them repair the damage and keep their citizens warm this winter?
I'm pleased to tell my honourable friend that I spent time discussing this with President Zelensky at the weekend and talking to Ukrainian families about the impact these awful strikes are having on them. I know the whole House will be proud to know that we're providing millions of pounds of immediate support with generators, shelter and water repairs on top of the 570 mobile power generation that we are donating to power facilities across Ukraine. We're also working with the government to repair critical infrastructure with 8 projects identified by UK Export Finance to be delivered in the near future.
We now come to the Leader of the SNP, Ian Blackford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm sure the whole House will want to join me in welcoming the moderator of the Church of Scotland to our proceedings this afternoon and to thank him for his sermon at St Margaret's this morning. Mr. Speaker, this morning the Supreme Court clarified a point of law, but the very point of democracy in this union is now at stake, and democracy will not be denied. Because whether Westminster likes it or not, last year the people of Scotland voted for a Scottish Parliament with a majority and the mandate to deliver an independence referendum. The Prime Minister has every right to oppose independence. He has no right to deny democracy to the people of Scotland. If the Prime Minister keeps blocking that referendum, will he at least be honest and confirm that the very idea that the United Kingdom is a voluntary union of nations is now dead and buried?
Well, Mr. Speaker, let me start by saying we respect the clear and definitive ruling of the Supreme Court of the United Kingdom. And what I would say to the honourable gentleman, that firstly, I am looking forward to also seeing the moderator of Scotland tomorrow. And I think that the people of Scotland want us to be working on fixing the major challenges that we collectively face, whether that's the economy, supporting the NHS, or indeed supporting Ukraine. Now is the time for politicians to work together, and that's what this government will do.
Ian Blackford.
Mr. Speaker, it is right that we respect the decision of the court. But the Prime Minister can't claim to respect the rule of law and then deny democracy in the very same breath. If democracy is to matter, if elections matter, then mandates matter. Since 2014, the Scottish National Party has won 8 elections in a row. Last year, we won a landslide. The Scottish Parliament now has the biggest majority for an independence referendum in the history of devolution. The Prime Minister doesn't even have a personal mandate to sit in 10 Downing Street. What right does a
I did hear something about that. So they're having another referendum, are they?
Man with no mandate have to deny Scottish democracy?
But, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to Scottish democracy, I'm pleased that the Scottish Government has one of the most powerful devolved assemblies anywhere in the world. And I'm pleased, and I was pleased very shortly after becoming Prime Minister to be the first Prime Minister in over a decade to attend the Council, to sit down with the First Minister, to explore ways in which we can work together with the Scottish Government to deliver for the people of Scotland. whether that's delivering our growth deals, delivering free ports, or ensuring that the £1.5 billion of extra Barnet money can go towards supporting public services. That's what we're committed to doing in Scotland.
Gareth Johnson.
Mr. Speaker, last month,
Obviously didn't read it
Just
that well.
Stop Oil clambered up the Dartford crossing, causing chaos for days. They then attacked artworks, the M25, and anything else to cause misery and mayhem. These people are not protesters, they are criminals. Will the Prime Minister therefore consider making Just Stop Oil a prescribed organisation so that they can be treated as the criminal organisation they actually are?
Mr. Speaker, the kind of demonstrations we've seen recently disrupt people's daily lives. They cause mass misery for the public and they put people in danger. The police have our full support in their efforts to minimise this disruption and tackle reckless and illegal
But
activity.
they ain't been doing that,
The
though.
Public Order Bill will give them the powers they need, and I look forward to seeing the support that that bill receives from every part of this House.
Davey.
Mr. Speaker, one of my constituents, Vanessa, has contacted me in floods of tears. Her mortgage payments have risen by £500 a month. She and her husband were already struggling with high energy bills and high food bills. Now, like 1 in 4 across the country, they fear losing their home. We are out of options and heartbroken, says Vanessa. So will the Prime Minister introduce a new mortgage protection fund paid for by reversing his tax cuts to the banks? Will he help Vanessa keep her home?
Mr. Speaker, I'm deeply sorry to hear about Vanessa's circumstances, and I want her to know that the plan that the Chancellor announced last week will help families like hers up and down the country, because it's the right plan to tackle inflation, to limit the increase in mortgage rates and ensure confidence in our economy. There is specific help that the Chancellor announced, offering low-interest loans to those owners on benefits to cover interest on mortgages of up to $250,000. The Chancellor is also meeting with mortgage lenders in the coming weeks, and we will continue to do all we can to support those homeowners who are struggling with their payments.
Greg Tracy.
Mr. Speaker. I recently took part in the Pitching In campaign, which promotes grassroots sports and also celebrates the volunteers who make it possible every week. So would the Prime Minister join me in thanking those volunteers for the incredible work they do? And also, with top-flight football taking a bit of a break at the moment because of the World Cup, would he join me in reminding people that it's the perfect opportunity to go out and support their local non-league football teams who are incredibly welcoming, and including in that, of course, Atherstone Town Community Football Club, Bedworth United and Coleshill Town in my constituency.
Well, I'm happy to join my honourable friend in praising all his local teams, and he makes an excellent point, actually, that volunteers have a vital role to play in community sport and actually the delivery of major events, and I join him in thanking them for everything that they do. Sport accounts for over half, Mr. Speaker, of volunteering in the UK, and every one volunteer generates a capacity for at least 8 more people to participate in sport, and I know the whole House will join me in praising their efforts.
Alan Dorrance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon. Mr. Speaker, since 2014, the SNP have won 8 elections, and we now have more councillors, members of the Scottish Parliament, and more MPs in this place than any other Scottish political party. Every one of those elected members were elected on a manifesto and clear mandate for Scottish independence. Mr. Speaker, what democratic right does this government have to deny Scottish democracy, refuse an independence referendum, and to keep us shackled and imprisoned in this involuntary and unequal union against the will of the Scottish people?
Well, Mr. Speaker, again, we respect the decision of the court today with regard to the referendum, and we're getting on with the business of working constructively, collaboratively, in partnership with the Scottish Government to deliver the project we should be focused on, and that's what we'll keep on delivering.
John Penrose.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has rightly promised to recruit a successor to Lord Guyters, his ethics advisor, promptly. but would he accept that threats to integrity are often broader than the job description of the Prime Minister's advisor on the Ministerial Code? And will he therefore commit to introduce the additional measures in the new 5-point integrity plan on topics like lobbying and conflicts of interest, developed with organisations like Transparency International and Spotlight on Corruption, to show he will walk the talk and put party integrity and government integrity at the heart of our democracy?
Well, I thank my honourable friend for his comprehensive and thoughtful suggestions. As he acknowledged, he knows that I've committed to appointing an independent advisor on ministerial interests, and I very much look forward to studying his other proposals in proper time.
Chris Law.
Mr. Speaker, just 3 months ago, this appointed interim Prime Minister said in Scotland, and I quote, "We live in a union, which is of course there by consent and by democracy." And added, "I accept that." Well, Mr. Speaker, by their consent and by democracy, the Scottish people have already voted by a clear majority in the Scottish Parliament to have their say through a referendum on the independent future for Scotland. So it begs the ultimate question, Mr. Speaker. Can this Prime Minister tell us if he accepts Scottish democracy? And if so, how that's compatible with today's Supreme Court ruling that clearly exposes the myth that the UK is a voluntary union and is upheld by consent?
Mr. Speaker, at a time like this, the Scottish people want to see their governments working together on the things that matter to them, and I believe that that is possible. And actually, he should know this, Mr. Speaker. In his own constituency, we've been able to support culture and tourism, working together to bring the V&A to Dundee. That's an example of a positive project. It demonstrates the benefits of the union, and that's what we'll keep on delivering.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My right honourable friend will be aware that the government provides a slim financial support across 5 firms for small modular reactors. A few other countries have woken up and are seriously investing in SMRs. As Sizewell will not be running until 2031 at the earliest, should we not be doing the same?
No, my honourable friend actually makes an excellent point, and hopefully he was heartened to hear what the Chancellor said last week, that we want to crack on with our overall nuclear programme. And I think he's right to acknowledge that small and advanced nuclear reactors have the potential to play a key role in that nuclear programme alongside projects like Hinkley and Sizewell. That's why we've allocated £385 million to support them, and like him, I'm keen to see progress as soon as possible.
Dr. Philippa Whitford.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
They do need
During
to be
the
charged.
2014 referendum, we were told that Scotland was an equal partner in a family of nations. Yet the disaster that is Brexit was forced on Scotland against our will, and we see devolution wound back by legislation such as the Internal Market Act. So if the Prime Minister still claims the UK is a voluntary union, can he explain the democratic route by which the people of Scotland get to make a choice over their own future?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the UK is a collaborative and constructive union that is delivering for the people of Scotland. Even in Ayrshire itself, where we're working collaboratively with the Scottish Government to invest in aerospace, advanced manufacturing and space. Those are the types of activities that will bring tangible benefit to the people in her region, and that's the right focus for the Government.
Angela Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As a North Yorkshire MP, my right honourable friend will know how crucial bus services are to our communities. Last month, Arriva stopped the only bus between Selby and Doncaster, meaning that 40 Selby College students had to find, at very short notice, alternative transport to get to college. Thankfully, the college itself stepped in to resolve the situation. Additionally, across North Yorkshire, around 80 other bus services are now under threat. Can he advise what action he will take to ensure that essential services are not withdrawn at short notice, and ensure that these are continued to be operated across Selby District and wider North Yorkshire?
My right honourable friend is absolutely right, and he knows that I share exactly the same challenges that he faced in our rural areas of making sure that our constituents have access to the bus services they need. I'm pleased that the Chancellor's allocated funding for extra bus services across the country, and I look forward to working with him to ensure that that money finds its way to rural areas like North Yorkshire to provide the connectivity that's so important for people to have opportunity and get access to public services.
Olivia Blake.
May I refer the House to my register of interests? Mr. Speaker, tomorrow marks 1 year since 32 people lost their lives in the Channel. New evidence suggests that the boat reached British waters and that the French and British authorities knew that it was in distress for a very long time. Families are still waiting for answers from the Marine Accident Investigation. Why has this investigation taken so long? Will he commit to a full public inquiry afterwards? And does he concede that this would not have happened if there were safe and legal routes into the UK?
Well, Mr. Speaker, every life that is lost in the Channel is a tragedy, but that is why it is so vital that we break the cycle of criminal gangs that are exploiting people and trafficking them, and that's what the Home Secretary is focused on. We have accepted over 380,000 people over the past few years because this is a place where people can seek refuge and sanctuary, but we must be able to do that in a sustainable way, and that's why it's right that we tackle illegal migration.
Dr. Caroline Johnson.
Mr. Speaker, rising energy bills are a challenge for all of us, and constituents in Sleaford and North Hykeham are very grateful for much of the support that has been given by government. But with temperatures this week falling below freezing in Lincolnshire, those living in park homes are particularly concerned when they will receive their support. So I ask my honourable friend the Prime Minister, can he tell me when and how people living in park homes will receive the £400 which they're entitled to?
And my honourable friend has consistently and rightly championed her rural constituents, making sure that they get access to the energy support that we're providing.
Socialism.
It's something that the Chancellor prioritised in last week's autumn statement. I will ensure that we get the money out as quickly as possible. She should also be reassured that the cold weather payment system provides extra financial support to those vulnerable constituents when temperatures drop below a certain point.
Callaghan.
Mr. Speaker, did Scotland vote for Brexit? No. Did Scotland vote for austerity?
No.
Did Scotland vote for the Tories?
No.
What we did vote for, don't shout me down, don't shout me down, I've listened to all of you. What we did vote for only last year was the right to choose our own future. With that in mind, and given a previous non-answer from the Prime Minister, can the Prime Minister tell this House, tell us all in fact, how a nation can leave this so-called voluntary union?
Mr. Speaker, the challenges that we face right now are those that require cooperation between our governments, tackling the economy, supporting the NHS, and I'm pleased that last week's autumn statement means that the Scottish Government will receive £1.5 billion in extra funding to deliver for public services in Scotland, and that's what we will continue doing.
Theresa May.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Scotland is a proud nation with a unique heritage. It is a valued member of our family of nations, a union of people bound through the generations by shared interests. Does my right honourable friend agree with me that this morning's Supreme Court decision gives the Scottish nationalists, the SNP, the opportunity for once to put the people of Scotland first? And end its obsession with breaking us apart.
I think that my right honourable friend put it very well, Mr. Speaker.
Angus Brendan McNeill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister won't answer, but it's obvious that the route to Scottish independence is now elections, and we know, Prime Minister, there's going to be many of them. Now, Mr. Speaker, inequality cost, and in France, the middle earners earn 20% more than in the UK, and low earners earn 25% more. This inequality is why the cost of energy and the cost of living hits people worse in the UK, and it's why I'm for independence, incidentally, to choose a better path. But meantime, in my constituency, there are both more more off-grid fuel customers and a higher rate of fuel poverty than in Northern Ireland. So will the PM do the right thing and extend the £200 payment that's going to Northern Ireland to the off-grid customers in my geographically distinct constituency, the Hebrides, on the basis of fairness? Yes or no?
Mr. Speaker, last week's autumn statement announced £55 billion to support families and businesses across the United Kingdom with their energy bills. And the Chancellor paid particular attention to those that are off-grid in rural areas by doubling the support to £200 for them, and that will help many people in his constituency and across the United Kingdom.
Sarah Bretley.
I'm sure we'll both be
Am I missing something? Because they're asking for money for people that live off-grid. So if you live off-grid, does that not mean you don't have any bills to pay? Am I being confused?
Celebrating this weekend what we consider to be one of the best days of the year, and that is Lancashire Day. And I thank you personally for hosting the event in Parliament. So will the Prime Minister, though he represents a Yorkshire constituency, join me in welcoming our Lancastrian local leaders and businesses to Parliament's Day, and join us in supporting our proud history and bright future by levelling up what we consider to be the best county?
May I offer my best wishes to my honourable friend, and indeed to you, Mr. Speaker, for Lancashire Day. And I can put local rivalry aside on this occasion to join her in thanking Lancastrians for their contribution to our country and to wish her the very best for today's event.
Kirsten Oswald.
Mr. Speaker, what we've heard from the Prime Minister today is, in essence, that no matter how Scotland votes, Westminster will decide.
So how are they off-grid then? That don't make no sense.
Yep. But democracy demands differently to that. Mr. Speaker, the late canon.
But I thought if you was off-grid, you'd have a wood stove and you'd like all them preppers and shit.
Kenyon Wright said, what if that other voice we know so well says, we say no and we are the state? Well, we say yes, and we are the people. And it is the people in Scotland who have to be heard. This place can't stand in the way of democracy. And if this Prime Minister with no mandate thinks it can, is he seriously telling us that this is a voluntary union of equals?
Well, Mr. Speaker, we are focused not on the SNP, but
Obesity
on the people
crisis.
of Scotland. That's who we're delivering for. I'm happy to meet with the First Minister, as I continue to do, to deliver for them.
So what do you mean? Hang on, Greg, because you're getting me more questions than answers here. So what do you mean? They generate their own electricity? So what? Does they need a subsidy?
It's in her own constituency with a growth deal, whether it's moving civil service jobs to Scotland, whether it's delivering free ports or indeed the extra funding for public services. This is a government that will deliver for the people of Scotland, and we will do it constructively and collaboratively.
Order, order. I would now like to make a statement. On the 20th of October, the Culture, Media, Sport Committee published a special report on answers given to it by the Right Honourable Member for Mid-Bedfordshire, when she was the Secretary of State for DCMS. The Honourable Member for Ayrshire subsequently wrote to me asking for precedence for a complaint of a breach of privilege, as was his right. I declined to do so since the bar for such a complaint is high. The House should only take...
Ah, fuck me, that was interesting, wasn't it?
And they are exceedingly unpleasant. But could I ask for guidance on what I and other members should tell their constituents about integrity in politics in this context? If someone misleads a committee, what should happen next?
Can I just say, integrity is...
You missed that.
That, first of all, Clinton letter, but only half the letter is not integrity. In fact, far from it. It misled the people of this country. It certainly put me in bad light with the people of this country. And I don't expect that to happen in an impartial speaker. So if that was an apology, I don't think it was very good. David Davis.
Mr. Speaker, in following on from that, honourable members of this
House... he's fucked off. He's just sneaked off, the little cunt.
First, there is a duty of upholding the institutions of this House. Clearly, in breaching the confidentiality of the Speaker's private correspondence, the member for Oakham...
Who's seen this?
Top G of Islam. And in his mind, the G in Top G apparently stands for God. Yes, Andrew Tate, the new poster boy for all things Islamic, is now encouraging his followers to call him Lord, Savior, and God. Let's look at a few quick examples.
Just in case anyone's new and they're not sure what I'm up to, I'm not promoting this geezer. Well, this geezer ain't too bad, but Andrew Tate, I'm not promoting him. I'm just... I've been saying how much of a cunt he is, basically, for the last while. And I think this just highlights the point quite well.
Devout Muslim convert who's being paraded around the world as proof that Islam is true, tweeted 2 days ago, "I am the last superhero of masculinity, as every other man has glaring, obvious failings. Only I am absolutely complete and perfect in every possible way. I'm the last hope for mankind. I will save everyone, all of you. Top G."
Definitely not Swift.
So,
mate.
Sharia-compliant convert Andrew Tate is the only thing that is absolutely complete and perfect in every possible way. He's the last hope for mankind. Sorry, Prophet Muhammad. Better luck next time. You're now obsolete because Islam finally has a real man. Yesterday, the Tater retweeted this from one of his fanboys, aka the Tater Tots. "Who is Andrew Tate? In geography, my world. In history, my king. In mathematics, my solution.
Can you see
in mythology,
how many
my God.
fucking
In astronomy,
likes it's got?
my universe. For the blind, it's light. For the hungry, it's bread. For the poor, wealth.
see it, really.
For me, everything." So, to his followers, Sheikh Tater is
9,500
their
likes.
their king, their solution, their God, their universe. He's
How mental.
everything to them, and he obviously likes it that way. The Tater also shared this tweet. "Who is Cobra Tate to me? He is my Lord and Savior. He has saved my life from the Matrix. He will forever be my Godfather from above. He is the Matrix. He is God. Cobra Tate will never be replaced, ever. Thank you, Cobra Tate, for saving my life once again. Lord."
I wonder why he doesn't teach us about the Talmud too.
Savior and God. Gotta love the Top G. Andrew Tate.
That's basically it anyway. That's all to see. That's got to be... Oh, I've seen this one though, boys. This is mental. This is Kennedy getting shot, right? If you look at this fella here, it says 4 there's 4 in the back and 2 in the front. If you look at the fella in the front passenger seat, he's leaning back. I don't know, mate. It looks like his man shot him in the fucking head, if you ask me. And then he turns round again. I don't know, it's weird. Anyway, should we see what's been going on in the news then? Oh. Bad. What have I done? Alright, let's get rid of this. So open that up. And then window capture. Is that working? catching up on the old Telegram. I ain't been on it in a little while. See what's been happening.
But we have science.
You can't hear that. Why can't? I think we need to watch this.
But we have.
How can I share it? Why can I not share it? Because it's window, picture in picture. What about now? That's a cunt. Why can't I share this? I'm going to have to download it quickly.
But we have.
Bill Gates and Hunt. Alright. Get rid of that. This is a proper long way of sharing it. What am I? I'm gonna do it this way. Alright.
But we have scientists who say that.
Have you got the audio though? Can you hear that? You should be able to hear that. No, no desktop audio.
We are going to reach that tipping point of 1.5 degrees by 2040 at the moment on current projections. So it is different this time. There is that time pressure.
Hang on, because
we have scientists who say that we are going to reach that tipping point of 1.5 degrees by.
So, what I don't know why I expected anything different, but we're actually listening to him talk to Bill Gates, the virus man. The computer virus, about policies on climate change. What a surprise. Who'd have thought it?
2040 at the moment on current projections. So it is different this time. There is that time pressure.
That's right. There's no comparable feat that mankind has ever achieved to what we need to do for climate change. Now, mankind is much richer today, far more knowledgeable today. We do have the digital tools that enable us to work on these things. What happened with solar panels, where they were very expensive and now they're cheap, or lithium-ion batteries, we need to do that for about 6 other technologies. You know, green steel, cheap hydrogen, offshore wind, and so it does require
green steel.
Lots of money, and we have many paths of innovation. We're not just counting on, one path, but we will have to see rapid innovation. It's all a matter of degrees, so to speak. That is, hitting 2.5 is better than hitting 3. Hitting 2 is better than hitting 2.5. 1.5 will be very difficult. I doubt that we'll be able to achieve that.
Mate, there's got to be some sort of fucking. The normies have got to look at the size of that back. They got to understand that it's complete fucking nonsense. I'm saying, when he was the man talking about the virus, and now he's the man talking about the climate, why don't the normies get that Bill Gates is trying to kill everyone? It don't make no sense. Why would they keep fucking injecting themselves? It's mental. You ask me. 1 in 5 trusts get red baby death rating. Audit reveals mortality rate for women during pregnancy or within a year of giving birth is more than 5% above the average record in other countries. Is that a surprise? Probably not. Prescribed heating.
So pride for me is a really personal thing. I myself come from the LGBTQ plus community, so as I said, the pansexual flag I've got behind me, very, very special thing to me, a very personal thing. So I myself started the Proud Swans alongside someone else called Andrew. We're offering people in the LGBTQ plus community to come into our stadiums and come to our grounds. But in actuality, football's never really done anything for this community, and that goes for all the other minority communities. So why are we expecting people to take that first step?
I think there's a more serious idea now, especially you can see the rolling back of LGBT rights across the globe, and there's a growing transphobic voice in the UK. And I think having festivals like this shows the LGBT community for what they are. It's people trying to live their lives, be who they want to be,
Sodom,
and love who they want to love. It's as simple as that, really.
Immoral sodomy.
The FPW felt that it was really important for us to be at Pride this year, because I think over the years, back in sort of 2014 when it first started, there wasn't many people that were a part of it. And I think now there's over 60, 70 LGBTQ plus supporters.
They call that social contagion, in case anyone's wondering.
Groups in the UK. And that's just in football. And that's the first initial step for us to then hopefully getting more and more people to come to our stadiums and realise that, you know, we are people first, we're not just people in suits in boardrooms.
Oh, that's about enough of that. That's about enough of that. I do like David Clues, mate. He put some bass stuff out here. Let me get rid of this out my way. He does put some bass stuff out, mate. I can't lie. Why is that muted? Seen this. I don't know if you've seen this.
Hold on one second. We have a process here. I'm not calling out on people who yell. And you're being disrespectful to your colleagues, and you're being disrespectful to our guests. I will not call on you if you yell, and also you're taking time off the clock because Dr. Fauci has to leave in a couple of minutes. I'm done. I'm not going. I'm not
agree,
going
Nick.
into a back and forth with you. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Dr. Fauci,
but she's
only 30.
I love that fella. The fella who's shouting at him. I think he's good stuff, mate.
It is not your turn. It is not your turn.
You can't read a press briefing. You need to call from people across the room. She has a valid question. She's asking about the origin of COVID-19.
I hear the question.
And Dr. Fauci is the best person to answer
I hear your question, but we're not doing this the way you want it. This is a disrespectful. It is. I'm done. Simon, I'm done. Simon, I'm done.
We love Simon.
I'm done with you right now.
Simon's
Go
good
ahead.
stuff.
Go ahead.
Fucking
Go ahead.
hate her, little witch, but Simon's good stuff. Suicide bombings in Jerusalem. MI5 have been at it again. It's like the same fucking clip, mate, innit? Not a lot happening in that, you can't really see. Looks like a psyop, mate, trying to take away rights of the Palestinians, probably. What's this? Parasitic royals, jeweled to the max. Jeweled to the max, toast president of South Africa as the country turns to shit. Wonder if they will mention the genocide of white farmers. I thoroughly doubt that very much. Look at this old fucking Freemason nonce, mate. Highest Freemason in the country, Edward. Sturgeon's SNP regime cannot hold an independent referendum. See, this is what I mean. I have not been watching the news for the last couple of days. This is mental. I did share this. Nonsense. Well, yeah, I think I've seen that as well. Here's what I mean, there's real stuff that they could be talking about in there, and they just wasted 40 minutes talking absolute shites. Like, people should be asking real questions. Like, where's that fucking, what's her name from Big Brother watch? Excuse me. She should be doing all that. I thought that was her job. This is what I mean, that's why they put people like that there. So people like me don't do fuck all. Do you know what, Greg? I've just seen your question there. I ain't seen UK column in a long time. I'll tell you what, I used to watch that religiously 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday and Friday. And I thought they was based. I thought they had a handle on everything until I heard the way that, what's his name? Gerish was talking about China. It's China. The way he skirted over the Uyghurs, the Uyghur thing. They won't talk about, well, they wouldn't talk about stuff like that. And it made me think, well, sure, don't get me wrong, a lot of the stuff they say is good, but if you're not, you've got to be calling out China. Yeah, I'm thinking it's joint time too. Green reality for people, reduce them, sift through this quickly, mate, because I don't really rate this fella. But again, like, this is from the 8th. I'm just gonna. Charles uses first speech to a foreign leader as king to signal his monarchy will tackle the legacy of colonialism, telling South African leader, "We must acknowledge wrongs to unlock the power of the future." Yeah, fuck all about Whitey getting killed, mate. Majority of Brits think refugees are positive for UK, finds United Nations. Well, they're the same people that come out with the climate data, so we know what that means. That's a complete fucking lie.
Good morning, everyone. Nothing was.
Fuck's sake. Oh, I would be careful in this one. That's mental. Gateway pundit gets removed from Maricopa Presser and followed by a drone afterwards into the parking lot. That's fucking mental. Stalking him after the fact.
This is the 1st of November this year. Just a few days ago, Austrian Airlines, OS 235 from Vienna to Berlin. The pilot has an event, the co-pilot had an event on the approach into Berlin and basically vomited over the instrument panel, which is where the radios are and some of the computers.
I can't imagine that's no good for it.
Leaned on the thrust levers, which control the engines.
Fuck that.
And basically passed out.
What?
Emergency services were called. The captain, who was still flying at the time, managed to effect a safe and normal landing.
Normal.
Basically, Austrian Airlines are now trying to distance themselves from this getting into the news. I just received an email from Austrian Airlines this morning, and basically they did confirm that it was a pilot event on board the aircraft and that emergency services at the airport were called out. 3rd of November 22, Fly Dubai 737 has to divert to an airport in Iran after the captain falls ill. April 21, incapacitated pilot by a stroke prompts the ANA 787 to do a diversion.
Oh.
May 2020, a Delta Airlines 777 aircraft carries typically 350 people. His flight is forced to divert as the pilot is incapacitated. Lufthansa, first officer collapses on a flight attendant when he's taking a restroom break. That was September 21. October 22, Indonesian pilot collapses in the cabin.
Alright, so
And that's
basically
actually
we
on
can safely say, because the video's fucked, we can safely say that it is not safe to fly on an aeroplane anymore. Not that it was safe in the first place, I would suggest, but fucking that's just me. Oh, this is the rich fella.
It's been the traditional denial thing that all the new things we see. I mean, SIDS.
Good chance that he's going to blame that on the thing, and then I'll get in trouble for putting that on here. But I have shared "died suddenly" on the Telegram. If people want to watch it. What was he reading? That's the link to the video, or that's the link to the channel that's got the link to the video. Died suddenly. Thought it's quite interesting. He does highlight the point, only very briefly, but he gets Tom Hanks to highlight the point that they're all Malthusians. They all believe that one day there'll be too many people on the earth and the agriculture sector won't be able to keep up with the production of enough food for everyone. But that's a lie. That has never been a problem. It's distribution. It's the same with the wealth. It's all bollocks. They just lie, basically. Anyway. Yeah, seen that. You seen this? It's going to the wrong side. Oh, fucking adverts. So this is the reason you're not allowed.
John is in Glasgow.
Car, it's recorded off a fucking phone. Imagine that.
Hi, Pedro, how are you? Another nice accent. I'm very well indeed. John, tell me your story.
Hi, well, Pedro, let me just start off with how I got into the position that I'm currently in just now. I have been affected by my Pfizer booster vaccine for almost a year now, and I've been bedridden and left on my own by the NHS, and I've had zero help from anyone.
Okay.
I'm currently, in regards to benefits, I'm not actually receiving any benefits as of yet, but I'm still waiting to get my personal independent claim done. I have been left to rot. I have no help.
Is she talking to me? You talking to me, Zara? What did I do?
I've been earlier on tonight.
And this is by the social services or the NHS as well?
I have had no help at all, Petra. I had took my Pfizer booster vaccine.
Can we not keep saying the name of the booster? I mean, unless it's been medically recognised that it was that caused your issues, as opposed to you believing that that's the case.
Not that I believe it, Petra. It's fact. A year ago, I was perfectly fine. And then what happened was, I took my Pfizer booster.
Oh, I know who this is. This is that young fella. This is, I don't know if who had the video of him. That was Have you seen that young fella that he's in shape and all sorts of stuff. Like, he was quite a fit lad. Well, no, not quite a fit. He was a fit, like, 30-year-old man, mate. And he had the old thing. And now he can't stand up. He can't even stand up, mate, without feeling all fucked. Light-headed, all just fucked. They proper fucked him, mate. But anyway. What's this? The old big tree. Mother of 5 killed paedophile 77 for abusing her 3 sons when she found out he had changed his identity to hide, appalling history of child sex attacks. Well, yeah, I mean, the police ain't gonna do nothing about it. What are you supposed to do? I bet she gets weighed off for that. Absolute joke. I'm getting all these personal messages up. Oh fuck me, I can't go on that. It's gonna be worse than the other one. Let's do this one. Would help if I had some sort of idea what we was doing, like if I had a plan, but I didn't. I just thought it was going to go live for PM's queues. Like last time I had some stuff to talk about, but I ain't so ready this time. When was this? 12. Fuck me, that's well out of date and all. Oh, this... He put a video out the other day, it was worth watching. Where's... How old's this? This is from the 8th. Oh.
COVID-19 also helped legitimize instruments of control.
Don't forget that. That's well worth remembering. We also had a video of I had the video, I think it's on the laptop actually, of Harari saying the same sort of thing for about 15 minutes. This is what I mean. It's been happening for far too long, mate. The numbers are a bit different now, though. Fucking A.
Overdrive to clean up loose ends. November 16, 2016, 2 weeks after Donald Trump's victory, Joe Biden is on the phone with Poroshenko. His voice tenser now than before.
This is getting very, very close. What I don't want to have happen, I don't want Trump to get in the position where he thinks he's about to buy onto a policy where the financial system is going to collapse and he's going to be looked to pour more money into Ukraine. That's how he'll think about it before he gets sophisticated enough to know the details.
You hear it now?
Biden does not want Ukraine asking for more money from Trump. Doing so would cause Trump to look into the details.
What was she saying?
So anything you can do to push the Privat Bank to closure so that the IMF loan comes forward, I would respectfully suggest is critically important to your economic as well as physical security.
Critically?
Oh, Biden's a nonce. Right. I'm going to turn the stream off, boys, because really and truly we was only going to shout at the midget, really. That was what I wanted to do. The boss-eyed midget. But, yeah. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.